S12, Cowboy bought a horse, but the chief sent his 2 daughters as part of the deal. Jack Harper rode slowly along the edge of the wide golden plains, his hat pulled low to shield his eyes from the blazing sun. The wind swept across the fields, carrying with it the scent of dry grass, dust, and a faint hint of the nearby river. He had been traveling for days, and the soles of his boots were worn thin, but he did not slow down. This journey was too important to stop now. Jack had one goal: to find the horse that could change his life. Not just any horse would do. He needed a stallion strong enough to handle the long cattle drives he planned for the coming season, fast enough to outrun danger, and smart enough to know when to stay calm in the face of sudden storms or wild predators. Jack had heard tales from other cowboys about a horse owned by Chief Red Eagle, a respected leader of a local tribe. The stories said the stallion was unmatched, with sleek brown fur, eyes that seemed to understand human thoughts, and hooves that could gallop across rough terrain without faltering. Jack's father had always told him that the right horse could make or break a cowboy. "A horse is more than an animal," his father used to say. "It's a partner. If you choose wisely, it can carry you further than you ever imagined. If you don't, it will cost you more than money." Jack thought of those words often as he rode. He needed this horse, not just for work, but for pride, for independence, and for the chance to prove that he could handle more than just his own land. The path ahead was not easy. Dust rose from the dry soil as he moved forward, and the sun beat down relentlessly. His stomach grumbled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten since sunrise. Jack reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a piece of hard bread and a small chunk of cheese. He chewed slowly, savoring the taste, and then tilted his head to watch the horizon. In the distance, he saw a cluster of trees, a small hill, and what looked like smoke curling into the sky. It was the village of Chief Red Eagle. Jack slowed his horse to a careful walk. His heart pounded in his chest. He had never met the chief in person, but he knew stories about him were told with respect in every settlement, from the smallest ranch to the busiest town. Chief Red Eagle was known for wisdom, fairness, and courage. Many said that anyone who gained his trust could accomplish great things, while those who offended him faced consequences far worse than losing money. Jack had no intention of causing trouble. He only wanted the horse, and he hoped that the chief would be reasonable. As Jack approached the village, he noticed the careful way it was built. The homes were simple but sturdy, made of wood and stone with smoke rising from their chimneys. Children ran through the streets, laughing and chasing each other, while elders sat nearby, talking quietly and watching over the young ones. Jack dismounted, tying his horse to a post near the edge of the village. He dusted off his coat, adjusted his hat, and took a deep breath. He stepped forward, trying to appear calm, even though his stomach was tied up in knots. The chief's home was at the center of the village, larger than the others, with carvings along the wooden walls that told stories of the tribe's history. Jack knocked on the door. He waited. After a moment, it opened slowly, and Chief Red Eagle himself stepped out. His presence was commanding but not threatening. He was tall, with dark, thoughtful eyes and a quiet strength in his movements. Jack bowed slightly, unsure of what to say first. "Greetings, stranger," the chief said in a voice that was calm but firm. "What brings you to our village?" Jack swallowed and straightened. "My name is Jack Harper. I have heard of your stallion, and I wish to purchase him. I come with respect, Chief Red Eagle, and hope that we can reach an agreement." The chief studied Jack carefully. "Many have come for that horse," he said slowly. "They want him for speed, for strength, for glory. but few understand what the horse truly represents. He is part of our family, part of our land. You cannot simply buy him with gold. Jack felt his chest tighten. He had expected a price, yes, but not this kind of warning. "I understand," he said earnestly. "I only wish to care for him and use him for work. I will do whatever you ask to prove I am worthy." The chief's eyes narrowed slightly, and he nodded. "Words are easy," he said. "Actions are what matter. Come with me." Jack followed the chief into a small yard behind the home. There, standing tall and proud, was the stallion he had heard about. The horse's coat gleamed in the sunlight, and its eyes were dark and wise, as if it could see right into Jack's heart. The horse tossed its head and neighed softly, stepping forward as Jack approached. Jack reached out slowly, letting the stallion sniff his hand. The horse's breath was warm, and it exhaled a soft puff of air against Jack's palm. Jack's heart lifted. He knew he could ride this horse, care for it, and build the partnership he had dreamed about. "He's magnificent," Jack whispered. "Truly the finest horse I've ever seen." Chief Red Eagle smiled faintly. "He is more than magnificent," he said. "He carries the spirit of the land and the stories of my people. If you wish to take him, you must understand that you are taking on more than an animal. You are taking on responsibility." Jack nodded. "I understand. I am ready for that responsibility." The chief's expression changed, becoming more serious. "Then I will make you an offer," he said. "But it is not what you expect. This horse is not for simple sale. I will not take gold. Instead, there is a task you must agree to, a test of your character. If you succeed, the horse will be yours. If you fail, you will leave empty-handed." Jack's brow furrowed. He had expected a negotiation, maybe a price, maybe a challenge, but not a mysterious test. His curiosity and worry mixed together, making his heart beat faster. "What kind of test?" he asked cautiously. The chief looked Jack in the eyes. "A test of respect, of understanding, and of courage," he said. "You must spend time with my family, learn from them, and show that you are worthy of this horse. It will not be easy, and it will not be simple. Are you willing to accept what I ask?" Jack took a deep breath. Every fiber in him screamed to take the horse and leave, but something in the chief's eyes told him that this was not just about the animal. It was about honor, about trust, and about proving who he truly was. "I accept," he said firmly, though his mind raced with questions. The chief nodded slowly, satisfied. "Then you shall meet my daughters," he said. "Bah! They will teach you what you need to know, and through them, you will learn whether you are truly worthy." Jack felt a mix of surprise and anxiety. He had expected cattle, trails, and rugged work, but now he was about to meet people whose lives were completely different from his own. He didn't know what to expect, but he knew that backing down was not an option. He had come too far. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the village, Jack stood ready. He didn't yet know the challenges ahead, but one thing was certain: his journey to earn this horse was just beginning. And in the quiet wind that rustled through the trees, he could almost hear the whisper of adventure calling him forward. Jack Harper's life was about to change forever, and he had no idea just how much this single decision would shape him, not just as a cowboy, but as a man. Jack Harper followed Chief Red Eagle through the village, his eyes taking in every detail. The chief walked with a calm authority, and Jack realized that every movement, every gesture, seemed to carry a purpose. Children paused their games to watch them pass, and even the animals in the village seemed to respect the chief's presence. Jack's curiosity grew with every step. What kind of family would the chief have, and what would he have to do to earn the horse? They arrived at a small wooden house at the far end of the village. Smoke curled gently from its chimney, and the air was filled with the scent of cooked vegetables and baking bread. The chief paused at the door and turned to Jack. "Inside, you will meet Naya and Leela," he said. "They are my daughters. They will decide whether you are ready for what lies ahead." Jack felt a flicker of nervousness. He had never been in a situation like this before. Meeting the chief's daughters was far from what he had imagined when he set out to buy a horse. But he squared his shoulders and stepped inside. The room was simple but cozy. Sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the wooden floor and the small decorations on the walls. Two young women stood in the center. Naya, the older of the two, had sharp eyes and a quiet confidence. Her hair was dark, flowing past her shoulders, and she held herself with a calm, steady grace. Lila, slightly younger, had a lively expression and a mischievous smile that suggested she was always ready for adventure. Jack tipped his hat. "I am Jack Harper," he said. "I hope I can earn your trust." Naya and Lila exchanged a glance, then turned back to him. Naya spoke first. "We have heard of you, Jack Harper," she said, her voice firm but polite. "Many cowboys come seeking the horse, but few understand what it means to be part of this deal. Are you ready to learn?" Jack nodded. "Yes, I want to learn." Lila stepped closer, her eyes sparkling. "Then you'll need more than words," she said. "We will be watching you carefully. You must show that you are willing to work hard, respect our ways, and face challenges with courage." Jack felt a knot of anxiety in his stomach. He had hoped the deal would be simple, but it was clear that it would be far from easy. He had to prove himself not just to the chief, but to these two remarkable young women who held the key to earning the horse. The first days were full of small lessons. Naya taught Jack how to handle tools and prepare food the way her family had done for generations. She showed him how to grind grain, start a fire without matches, and even recognize the signs of changing weather. Jack found himself clumsy at first, fumbling with the tasks and feeling the sting of embarrassment when he made mistakes. But Naya's calm guidance and patient instructions helped him improve. Lila's lessons were different. She led Jack through the forests and hills near the village, teaching him about tracking animals, identifying edible plants, and moving quietly through the trees. Lila was playful and teasing, making Jack laugh even when he stumbled or fell into a puddle. At first he felt awkward being taught by someone so young, but he quickly realized that Lila's knowledge was invaluable. He began to admire her courage and cleverness. Days turned into weeks, and Jack slowly adapted to this new way of life. He woke up early each morning, helped with chores, and spent his afternoons learning from Naya and Leela. The horse he had come for watched him closely, sometimes nudging him with its nose as if encouraging him to try harder. Jack realized that the horse seemed to understand the lessons as well, responding only when he approached with patience and respect. Despite the progress, Jack also faced challenges. He struggled with the strict routines, the unfamiliar customs, and the expectations placed on him. Sometimes he wanted to give up, to return to the open plains and the life he had known. But every time he felt doubt, he remembered why he had come in the first place. The horse, the chance to prove himself, and the respect of Chief Red Eagle and his daughters. One morning, Naya announced a new challenge. "Today," she said, "you will learn something important about trust." She led Jack to a wide, shallow river. "The horse must cross this river carefully," she explained. "If it senses fear or hesitation, it will refuse. You must show calmness and confidence." Jack nodded, Understanding the lesson, he approached the horse slowly, speaking in soft, reassuring tones. The stallion watched him intently, its ears flicking forward. Jack led it to the riverbank, feeling the cool water lap at his boots. With steady hands and a calm heart, he guided the horse into the flowing river. The stallion paused at first, testing the water, then began to cross, following Jack's lead. When they reached the other side, Naya and Lila smiled. "You are learning," Naya said. "But remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting wisely, despite fear." Jack felt a surge of pride. He was beginning to understand the deeper lessons of this journey. It was not just about owning a horse or completing tasks. It was about growth, respect, and the bonds that connected him to these people and the land. As the weeks continued, Jack noticed changes in himself. He was more patient, more observant, and more willing to listen. He laughed more easily, learned from mistakes, and began to see value in the quiet moments of reflection. Naya and Leela, in turn, seemed to trust him more. They shared stories of their childhood, of the traditions of their tribe, and of the land that had shaped their lives. Jack felt honored to hear these stories, realizing that trust was built slowly, through shared experiences and honest effort. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Jack sat near the horse, brushing its coat. Naya and Lila approached quietly, carrying baskets of food for their simple dinner. They all sat together, sharing the meal and watching the sky darken. The silence was comfortable, filled with unspoken understanding. Jack realized that this was more than a test. It was a journey into a different world, one that would stay with him long after he earned the horse. Suddenly, Lila spoke, breaking the quiet. "Jack," she said, "you are learning fast. But remember, knowledge alone is not enough. You must understand the heart of the land, the people, and the horse. Only then will you be ready." Jack nodded thoughtfully. "I want to understand," he said earnestly. "I want to be ready." Naya smiled softly. "Then continue as you are. Keep learning, keep listening, and keep your heart open. The path ahead will test you more than this, but you are capable if you remain true." As night fell and stars blanketed the sky, Jack felt a mixture of exhaustion and determination. He had come seeking a horse, but he was discovering that this journey was about much more than that. It was about honor, trust, courage, and growth. Each lesson he learned brought him closer, not only to the horse, but to a deeper understanding of himself and the world around him. Jack lay down near the horse that night, listening to the soft rustle of leaves and the distant sounds of the village. He realized that this was only the beginning of a long journey, one that would challenge him, surprise him, and change him in ways he could not yet imagine. And as he drifted into a restless sleep, he dreamed not only of the horse, but of the lessons he had yet to learn, and the adventures that awaited him with Naya, Leela, and the mysterious land they called home. Days turned into weeks, and Jack Harper had grown stronger, wiser, and more confident in the ways of Chief Red Eagle's family. But life was not always easy, and he knew that the real lessons were only beginning. One morning, Naya came to him with a serious look in her eyes. "Jack," she said, "today you will face a challenge that will test your courage and patience. Are you ready?" Jack nodded firmly. "I am ready." Lila appeared behind Naya, her usual playful smile softened with concern. "This will not be like the lessons you have learned so far. You must think, act, and trust, not just yourself, but also the people and the horse around you." Jack felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had learned much, but the unknown still made his heart race. Naya handed him a small bundle of supplies, a rope, some dried food, and a water flask. "You will need these," she said, "but remember, the greatest strength is not in what you carry, but in how you use your mind and your heart." The three of them set off toward the hills that rose at the edge of the village. The terrain was rough, with jagged rocks, thick undergrowth, and sudden drops that could catch anyone off guard. Jack followed closely, keeping a careful eye on both the daughters and the horse, who moved with a steady grace through the obstacles. Suddenly, Lila pointed ahead. "Look," she whispered. Jack's eyes followed her finger to a small group of wild horses grazing near a stream. Among them was a young stallion, not as grand as Chief Red Eagle's horse, but fast and strong. Naya's voice was calm but firm. "This is your first real test. You must guide our horse through the terrain and show that you can protect it, lead it wisely, and make decisions under pressure." Jack's stomach tightened. He had learned to handle the horse in calm settings, but now, with distractions, the challenge was far greater. He adjusted his hat, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. The horse seemed to sense his determination, moving closer to him and lowering its head in quiet trust. The path to the wild horses was narrow and treacherous. Jagged rocks jutted out, and the ground was slippery in places where small streams cut across the path. Jack focused, guiding the horse carefully, watching its every step, and speaking softly to keep it calm. Naya and Lila followed behind, offering advice and encouragement when needed. Halfway across the path, a sudden sound startled them. A branch snapped loudly nearby. The horse reared slightly, its eyes wide, and Jack felt a surge of panic. He took a deep breath, remembering Naya's lessons. "Steady," he murmured, placing his hand on the horse's neck. "We can do this together." The horse calmed, sensing Jack's courage and patience. Step by step they continued, finally reaching the open field where the wild horses grazed. The sight was breathtaking. The sunlight reflected off the horses' coats, and the sound of their soft whinnies filled the air. But Jack knew there was no time to admire the view. Naya instructed him, "Guide our horse through the herd without startling them. This requires calmness, trust, and skill." Jack nodded. He adjusted his grip on the reins, keeping his movements slow and steady. "Cha!" The horse followed his lead, stepping gently among the wild herd. At first, the young stallion nearby stamped nervously, but Jack remained calm, guiding both his horse and the stallion with quiet confidence. Slowly, they made their way through the field, and the challenge that had seemed so impossible began to feel achievable. When they finally reached the other side, Lila clapped softly. "You did it," she said, her eyes sparkling. "You kept calm, used your head, and never gave up." Naya nodded in agreement. "This is only the beginning, Jack," she said. "True courage is not measured by a single success, but by how you handle the challenges that come after." Jack felt a surge of pride, but also a new awareness of how much more he had to learn. The lessons were not over. They were becoming a part of him, shaping the way he thought, acted, and connected with others. That evening, as they returned to the village, Jack noticed a change in himself. He was faster, more alert, and more aware of the land and the people around him. He realized that every step of this journey was teaching him not just how to be a better cowboy, but how to be a better person. But life in the village was not always calm. A few days later, as Jack and the daughters were tending to the horses near the river, a loud commotion erupted from the village. Smoke rose in the distance, and the sound of hurried voices carried across the plains. Jack's heart pounded. Something was wrong. They rode back quickly, the horse moving faster than ever, its hooves pounding the soft earth. When they arrived, they saw that a wildfire had started on the outskirts of the village. Flames leapt from dry grass to small trees, and the wind threatened to spread it quickly toward the homes. Villagers were working together to contain it, but the situation was dangerous. Naya shouted instructions. Form a line. Pass buckets. Move the animals to safety. Jack jumped into action. He helped carry water, guided frightened animals to safer areas, and coordinated with other villagers. Lila worked alongside him, leading the horses away from the fire while keeping her voice calm to reassure them. Jack realized that this was a test unlike any other, one where courage, quick thinking, and teamwork mattered more than any skill he had learned before. The hours passed in a blur of heat, smoke, and relentless effort. Jack's clothes were soaked with sweat, his arms ached from lifting buckets, and his lungs burned from inhaling smoke. Yet, he did not stop. He thought of the chief, of Naya and Lila, and of the horse that had brought him here. He remembered all the lessons he had learned about patience, courage, and trust. Step by step, action by action, he did what he could. Finally, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, the flames were under control. The villagers cheered, grateful for the help of Jack, Naya, and Lila. Smoke still lingered in the air, but the homes and animals were safe. Jack's chest heaved with exhaustion, but he felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and had helped others overcome it too. That night, after the fire was fully extinguished, the three of them sat together by the river, the cool water soothing their tired bodies. Lila handed Jack a piece of bread. "You were amazing today," she said softly. "You stayed calm, worked hard, and didn't give up. That is what it means to be worthy," Naya added. "Courage is not the absence of fear, Jack. It is acting wisely despite it. Today, you proved that you have that courage." Jack felt a warmth spread through him, not from the fire they had fought, but from their words. He realized that the journey he had begun weeks ago had changed him in ways he could not have imagined. The horse he had come to earn was still important, but the lessons, the experiences, and the bonds he had formed were far more valuable. As he lay on the grass that night watching the stars twinkle in the clear sky, Jack thought about the path ahead. More challenges would come, he knew, but he also knew that he was ready to face them. With Naya and Lila by his side and the horse trusting him completely, he felt stronger, braver, and more determined than ever. And in the quiet of the night, Jack Harper understood that this journey was no longer just about owning a horse. It was about learning to live with courage, respect, and wisdom, and about discovering the true meaning of trust, friendship, and responsibility. The days after the wildfire were quieter, but the village still buzzed with activity. Jack Harper had grown more confident, his hands steady and his mind sharper. He had learned the value of patience, trust, and teamwork, and the bond between him and the horse had strengthened. Yet he knew that his greatest challenges were still ahead. Chief Red Eagle had promised tests of character, and Jack felt deep in his heart that he would soon face one unlike anything before. One morning, as the sun rose over the hills, Naya approached Jack with a serious expression. "Jack," she said, "today we must go beyond the village. There is a matter that requires courage, wisdom, and quick thinking. Are you prepared?" Jack straightened and nodded. "I am ready. Tell me what we must do." Lila appeared at Naya's side, her lively smile replaced with a more determined look. "We are going to the northern ridge," she said. "There is a herd of cattle there that must be driven back to the village. They have wandered too far and are in danger of predators and the wild terrain. The path is dangerous, and you will need to act carefully. Mistakes can cost lives. Jack's chest tightened. This was different from any lesson he had faced. It was no longer about carrying water, guiding the horse, or small survival tasks. This was a test of leadership, judgment, and courage under pressure. He squared his shoulders, remembering Naya's words. True courage is acting wisely despite fear. They set off together, the horse moving steadily beneath Jack as he adjusted to the rhythm of the ride. The northern ridge was farther than they had traveled before, and the terrain grew rougher with every mile. Jagged rocks cut through the grass, streams crossed the path, and the wind howled across the open plains. Jack had to think quickly, using every lesson he had learned to keep the horse steady and alert. As they reached the ridge, Jack spotted the herd. The cattle grazed peacefully, unaware of the dangers that surrounded them. Wolves had been spotted in the area recently, and the rocky terrain was treacherous. Jack knew that leading them safely back would require careful planning, clear communication, and the ability to stay calm under pressure. Naya gave him a steadying look. Jack, remember, you are not alone. Trust your instincts, trust the horse, and trust us. Together, we can guide them safely. Leela added, and remember, every decision counts. One wrong move could scare the herd and send them running into danger. Jack took a deep breath, his hands steady on the reins. He guided the horse slowly toward the herd, speaking softly to keep both his horse and the cattle calm. He remembered the lessons of patience, observation, and quiet determination. Step by step, he moved closer, gaining the trust of the animals. At first, the herd remained calm, grazing and watching the newcomers with curiosity. Jack signaled gently, and the cattle began to follow, moving as a group toward the safer path that led back to the village. But as they navigated a narrow pass along the ridge, a sudden noise startled the herd. A falling rock tumbled down the slope, sending several cows into a panic. Jack's heart raced. He quickly reacted, guiding the horse between the frightened cattle and the cliff edge. "Stay calm. Follow me," he shouted, his voice firm but steady. The horse moved with him, agile and sure-footed, helping to redirect the herd away from danger. Naya and Lila rode alongside him, giving instructions and assisting wherever needed. Lila used her voice to calm the nearest cows while Naya positioned herself to block the path toward the cliff. Their teamwork was precise, almost instinctive, and Jack felt a surge of admiration for their skill and bravery. After what felt like hours, though it was only a tense morning, the herd was safely guided back to the open plains leading toward the village. Jack's chest heaved with relief and exhaustion. He had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and had emerged successful, thanks to the lessons he had learned and the trust he had built with Naya, Lila, and the horse. When they returned to the village, the chief was waiting. His expression was calm but intense, his eyes sharp and assessing. "Jack Harper," he said, his voice carrying across the courtyard, "you have faced trials that would test even the most experienced among us. You have shown courage, wisdom, and strength. But the greatest test is not yet over. You must understand that honor and responsibility are not measured only in action, but in the heart." Jack felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. He had come so far, but the chief's words reminded him that the journey was far from complete. He looked at Naya and Lila, who nodded encouragingly. They had been his guides, his teachers, and his friends, and he knew that their judgment mattered as much as the chief's. Days later, the chief approached Jack with a serious proposal. "Jack, you have proven yourself capable," he said. "But there is one more challenge that will determine whether you are truly ready to earn the horse. It is not a task of speed or strength, but of wisdom, understanding, and heart. Are you willing to accept it? Jack's heart beat fast. "I am willing," he said without hesitation. The chief motioned toward the far edge of the village. A neighboring settlement is in need. Their water supply has been damaged, and without it, many will suffer. You must travel there, assess the situation, and find a solution. You will have limited resources, and the path is difficult. The people depend on your courage and judgment. Naya and Lila stepped forward. "Jack, this is your final test," Naya said softly. "Ah, we will support you, but you must lead. You must show that you have learned everything we have taught you: patience, courage, trust, and wisdom." Lila smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We believe in you," she said. "Now go and show the heart of a true cowboy." Jack set out the next morning, the horse moving steadily beneath him. The journey was challenging. The path was rocky, the streams deep, and the wind strong. Yet Jack kept his focus, using the lessons he had learned to navigate obstacles and make careful decisions. When he finally reached the neighboring settlement, he saw the problem clearly. A small dam had been damaged, preventing water from reaching the fields and homes. People were worried and anxious, unsure how to repair it before the heat of summer dried the crops. Jack immediately began to organize the villagers. He assessed the materials they had, made a plan, and worked alongside them to repair the dam. Naya and Lila's teachings echoed in his mind as he directed efforts calmly and wisely. He showed patience when problems arose, courage when the tasks were difficult, and understanding when villagers were frustrated or afraid. By the end of the day, the dam was repaired, and water began flowing once more to the fields and homes. The villagers cheered, grateful for Jack's leadership and determination. Jack felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had faced challenges that tested not only his physical abilities but also his heart and mind. And he had succeeded. When he returned to Chief Red Eagle's village, the chief greeted him with a quiet smile. "Jack Harper," he said, "you have proven yourself in ways that go beyond skill or strength. You have shown courage, patience, wisdom, and heart. You are worthy of the horse, but more importantly, you are worthy of the trust and respect of those around you." Naya and Lila approached, smiling warmly. "You have done it, Jack," Naya said softly. "You have faced the challenges, learned the lessons, and grown in ways few can imagine. The horse is yours, but the journey has given you far more than any animal could." Isla added, "Remember, Jack, the true reward is not the horse, but the courage, wisdom, and understanding you carry within you. That is what makes you a true partner, not just to the horse, but to life itself." Jack looked at the stallion standing proudly nearby, its eyes calm and trusting. He felt a surge of emotion. This horse was more than an animal. It was a symbol of his journey, his growth, and the lessons he had learned. He had come seeking a horse, but he had gained courage, friendship, wisdom, and respect. As the sun set behind the hills, casting golden light across the village, Jack Harper felt a sense of peace and accomplishment. He knew that challenges would continue, but he was ready. He had learned the value of patience, trust, courage, and heart, and he knew that these lessons would guide him through anything that lay ahead. The morning air in Chief Red Eagle's village was cool and fresh as Jack Harper prepared for what he knew would be the last part of his journey. The sun rose slowly over the hills, painting the sky in soft oranges and pinks. The horse he had earned stood patiently nearby, its sleek brown coat shining in the light. Jack felt a mix of pride and nervousness. He had faced challenges he never imagined, learned lessons he could never forget, and built friendships that had changed him forever. But now, it was time to see the final outcome of his long journey. Chief Red Eagle appeared at the center of the village, calm and commanding as always. His expression was serious but not unkind. Jack approached with respect, tipping his hat. "Chief," he said, "I am ready for whatever comes next." The chief nodded. "Jack Harper, you have completed all the tests I set before you. You have shown courage when faced with danger, wisdom when faced with difficult choices, patience in learning, and heart in helping others. Now it is time for the final decision. The horse you sought so diligently is yours, but you must understand that owning him is more than a reward. It is a responsibility." Jack's chest tightened with emotion. He had worked so hard, learned so much, and faced so many challenges. He nodded firmly. "I understand, Chief. I will care for him and honor the lessons you and your daughters have taught me." Naya and Lila stepped forward, their expressions warm and proud. "Jack," Naya said softly, "you have proven yourself, not only to us, but to yourself. You have grown into someone who is capable, brave, and thoughtful. The horse is a gift, yes, but the true reward is all you have learned along the way." Lila added with a playful smile, "And don't forget, Jack, that a true partner must listen, observe, and act with heart. You have done that. That is why this horse belongs with you." Jack felt a lump in his throat. He had come seeking a horse, expecting only strength, speed, and a means to help on the ranch. But the lessons, the challenges, and the bonds he had formed were far more valuable than anything he could have imagined. He realized that the journey had given him courage, wisdom, and friendship, and that these treasures would last a lifetime. The chief motioned to the horse, who stepped forward calmly. Sensing the change in the air, Jack approached slowly, kneeling slightly to pat the horse's neck. The stallion nuzzled his shoulder gently, and Jack felt a deep sense of connection. "We've done it, partner," he whispered. "Together, we've earned this." The villagers gathered around, sharing in the moment. Some clapped quietly, while others smiled, understanding the importance of this moment, not just for Jack, but for the bond between the village and the cowboy who had come seeking a horse. Jack realized that this was not just a personal achievement. It was a symbol of trust, respect, and understanding between two worlds. Over the next few days, Jack continued to work closely with Naya, Leela, and the villagers. He helped care for the horses, tended to the fields, and learned even more about the customs, traditions, and ways of life in the village. Every day brought new lessons, small and large, and Jack embraced each one with gratitude and determination. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the sky turned shades of pink and purple, Naya and Lila invited Jack to sit with them on a grassy hill overlooking the village. The horse grazed nearby, calm and trusting. Jack took a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace he had never known before. "Naya, Lila," he said, "I came seeking a horse, but I have gained so much more. You have taught me courage, patience, wisdom, and trust. I will never forget these lessons." Naya smiled, placing a hand on Jack's shoulder. "That is the true reward, Jack. A horse is strong and fast, but it cannot teach you heart, courage, or understanding. People, experiences, and challenges teach those things. You have learned them well." Lila leaned forward, her eyes sparkling in the fading sunlight. "And remember, Jack, the journey does not end here. The lessons you have learned will guide you in every step you take from now on. You are ready for anything because you have learned to face fear, think wisely, and act with heart." Jack felt a warmth in his chest, that he could not explain. He had been tested in ways he never imagined, through danger, responsibility, and trust, and he had grown stronger because of it. He looked at the horse grazing nearby, then back at Naya and Leela, and knew that these relationships, these experiences, were far more valuable than any prize. The following day, it was time for the official blessing of the horse. The village gathered in a circle, and Chief Red Eagle stood at the center. Jack approached slowly, bowing slightly. "Chief," he said, "I will care for him and honor all the lessons I have learned. I promise to be responsible, courageous, and thoughtful." The chief's eyes softened, and he nodded. "Jack Harper, you have proven yourself worthy. This horse belongs to you, but remember that ownership is not possession. It is partnership. Treat him with respect, listen to him, and guide him wisely. In return, he will be your loyal companion through all challenges." Jack's hands shook slightly as he took the reins. The horse stood tall and calm, sensing the moment's importance. Jack mounted carefully, feeling the power and grace beneath him. He had earned this horse not through gold, but through courage, patience, and heart. As he rode around the village, the villagers clapped and cheered quietly, their faces filled with respect and admiration. Jack felt a deep sense of connection, not just to the horse, but to the people who had trusted him, taught him, and allowed him to grow. He realized that this journey had given him far more than he had imagined. Over the following weeks, Jack settled into life with his new partner. He rode across the plains, tending to cattle and exploring the land, but he never forgot the lessons he had learned. He returned often to the village, helping with tasks, sharing stories, and learning from Naya, Lila, and the chief. The bond he had built with them and with the horse grew stronger every day. One afternoon, as Jack rode along the ridge overlooking the plains, he reflected on his journey. He had started seeking a horse, but he had gained courage, wisdom, patience, and trust. He had faced danger, learned difficult lessons, and discovered the importance of heart in everything he did. He smiled as he looked at the horse, who moved beside him with calm confidence. Together they had faced challenges, and together they had grown stronger. Naya and Lila joined him on the ridge, their laughter carried on the wind. Jack felt a sense of joy and peace. "I never expected this journey to change me so much," he said, smiling. Naya placed a hand on his shoulder. "Life has a way of teaching lessons in unexpected ways," she said. "You came for a horse, but you found courage, friendship, and understanding. That is far greater than any prize." Lila nodded. "And you have proven yourself worthy of all of it. The horse, the trust, and the respect you have earned are reminders of who you are and what you are capable of." Jack felt a deep sense of gratitude. He realized that the true reward of his journey was not the horse itself, but the growth, experiences, and connections he had gained along the way. He had faced challenges, learned lessons, and discovered strength he did not know he possessed. And most importantly, he had learned the value of heart, courage, and wisdom in every decision he made. As the sun set behind the hills, Jack Harper rode with the horse he had earned, feeling the wind on his face and the warmth of friendship and trust in his heart. He knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but he was ready. With courage, patience, and understanding, he could face anything that lay ahead. And so, Jack Harper's journey came full circle. He had set out seeking a horse, but he had gained so much more: friendship, trust, courage, wisdom, and a deep understanding of the world around him.